Once upon a time, in a remote village surrounded by dense forests, there was an old house that everyone avoided. The villagers whispered about it, telling stories of strange occurrences and dark figures that were said to haunt the place. But it was in the dead of winter, on one cold and eerie night, that a young traveler named Pierre arrived at the village. Exhausted from his long journey, Pierre was desperate for a place to rest. As the night grew darker, he spotted a faint light in the distance and followed it, hoping to find shelter. The light led him to the very house the villagers spoke of, the house at the end of the village. He knocked on the door, and after a long pause, it creaked open. An elderly woman greeted him with a kind smile. Her eyes were sharp, and her face lined with age, but there was a warmth in her voice as she invited him in. "You look lost, young man. Come in. I will offer you food and a bed for the night." Pierre hesitated, but his exhaustion overcame him, and he stepped inside. The house was strange, filled with dust and cobwebs, and there was a musty smell in the air. But the fire crackling in the hearth offered him comfort, and the elderly woman prepared him a warm meal before showing him to a bedroom at the back of the house. That night Pierre tried to sleep, but something wasn't right. As he lay in bed, he heard slow footsteps echoing down the dark hallway. It sounded like someone was walking, but when he checked, the hall was empty. He tried to sleep again, but the footsteps returned, closer this time, followed by a strange, heavy breathing. Terrified, Pierre got up and went to find the woman. When he found her sitting in a chair, staring into the fire, he asked, "Who is walking in the house? What's going on?" The old woman turned to him slowly and spoke in a low, almost whispering voice. "This house is filled with lost souls, souls that never found rest. They wander here forever. And you, young man, are no different from them." Pierre felt a chill run down his spine. He demanded to know more. "What do you mean? Who are these souls?" The woman gazed at him with a sorrowful expression and replied, "Those who enter this house. They never leave. They become part of the spirits who haunt this place. The footsteps you hear, they're the souls of those who came before you." A deep, unsettling silence filled the room. Pierre's fear grew as he realized the terrible truth. The house was not abandoned. It was a prison for wandering souls, and now he was one of them. Panicked, Pierre ran to the door, but as he stepped into the hallway, he saw a dark figure emerge from the shadows. It moved toward him silently, its presence heavy and suffocating. "You shouldn't have come here," it whispered in a voice like the wind. With all his strength, Pierre bolted out of the house and into the village, not stopping until he was far away. He looked back, but the house was gone, vanished into the mist. The next morning, the village seemed normal again. The house was no longer there, and the villagers said nothing of the woman or the strange events. But Pierre knew the truth. The house was never just abandoned. It was a place of restless spirits, and he had narrowly escaped becoming one of them. To this day, some say that if you wander too close to that part of the village, you can still hear those eerie footsteps, wondering if you'll make it out alive, or if you'll become just another lost soul trapped within those cursed walls.